Greetings and salutations. If you're new to the channel, I want to thank you for stopping by. My name is Eric Moss. I'm a personal trainer, motivational speaker, and modern-day performing strongman. If you are unfamiliar with what a modern-day performing strongman is I perform feats of strength as part of a live show, sort of like a modern-day version of the sort of thing that the mighty Adam and Alexander Zass used to do back in the day, but with a modern-day twist. Some of the feats of strength that I've performed in shows in the past would include things like bending steel bars, breaking chains, rolling up frying pans, twisting horseshoes, driving nails through wooden boards by hand, and even holding back a high-performance motorcycle taking off at full throttle. Now, being a modern-day performing strongman and the fact that there's not a whole lot of us around these days to answer questions, I started a YouTube series where I would invite you guys to ask me questions by dropping it in the comments below. And when you do that, I get back to you with your very own custom video. Pretty cool, right? So, this question comes from, hold on, I just had it, Oriellen Carnoy. I hope I pronounced that right. And they said, thank you. You have a routine? I lift fence posts with concrete because I can use just the tip of the post or the middle, or the concrete part, or sliding the posts into another one and making a barbells with 2 concrete on each side. Is it a good way to become strong? I do 2 hours every day, plus pull-ups whenever I go under the door. Thank you for your video. You are an inspiration. Oh, and I do it in the field because it feels good. I use intuition to work out because it makes life interesting. Thank you for commenting, Aurelian. I hope I pronounced that right. Yes, so you're making homemade equipment using fence posts with concrete on each side, if I understood the question correctly. Yes, it is a good way to become strong. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, that's actually what Alexander Zass initially used to do before he started doing isometrics. He was inspired by the works of Eugen Sandow and didn't have access to weights because they weren't as commonplace back then as they are now. So if there's a will, there's a way, and he would fashion homemade pieces of equipment where he made things out of concrete as a way of being able to lift weights. Now, he had said that he thought it was a good way of becoming bulky without becoming strong. Well, I mean, he built a lot of his strength initially from doing that, and he also worked out in a field. And that was prior to isometrics. Now, that is one way to get strong. You had also mentioned that you would do pull-ups every time you walked under a door. One of the greatest books I ever read on the topic of strength training is a book called The Naked Warrior by Pavel Tsatsouline. And in it, he talked about what advanced people talk about as like synaptic facilitation, or what's known as grease the groove. And he had put his father-in-law on a similar program where every time you walk under a door, you would do some pull-ups. This helps, well, we're going to get geeky now, so brace yourself. But basically, the way movement occurs is your brain sends a command signal through your central nervous system to tell your motor units to contract muscle fibers. Those muscle fibers contract, and that pulls on tendon, and which pulls on bone, and that is how all movement occurs. Now, when you're talking about synaptic facilitation, i.e. grease the groove, there is a myelin sheath that encases the channels that your neural flow goes through. And when you train that way, it actually thickens the wall that encases it. And in doing so, prevents leakage into irrelevant muscles. I think that is one of the reasons that your muscles shake initially, is because your body's unsure of which things go. But changes within the central nervous system can be pretty nearly instantaneous. You can actually get stronger during the session with that. As you probably noticed, the first time you do a pull-up when you walk under that door is probably a little bit more difficult than the ones that come after it. It's like your body is already getting used to the movement and already adapting to the movement. That is a very good way of getting stronger. Now, I feel like I'm missing some. Oh, as far as the intuitive part, as great as it is to be organized with a journal, there is something to be said for training intuitively. Many of the top athletes in the world train intuitively. I've trained intuitively myself to great effect. In fact, even though I have a very tight program and I try to rigidly program it, there's always flexibility for that intuitive thing. If I get just an overwhelming urge to perform an exercise or to include it in my routine, I will. That's the way I train. It's like your subconscious mind kind of knows what's best for you in terms of what you should do. At least if you're somewhat of an athlete of notice, like at the end of the day, it has to be what works for you. Now you ask me if it's a good way of getting strong, and I say, yeah. But as with many things, it depends. Now the question I ask of you is, are you getting stronger? If so, then the answer is yes, because if it works, plain and simple. So, Aurelian, assuming I'm pronouncing that right, I hope that answers your question. If you need additional information or you want me to go a bit more in depth or anything like that, drop it in the comments below and I'll try to follow up. If anybody else has any questions, drop it in the comments below and I'll try to create a customized video just for you. In the meantime, well, if you like this video, let me know by hitting that like button. If you want to see more of this sort of thing or you want to see the chronicles from my various shows, subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you think anybody should see this, please share it with them. But in the meantime, that is it for today. Please stay happy, healthy, and strong. Eric Moss, over and out.